There is a deception so subtle, so quietly dangerous, that most men never detect it, not in the world around them, but in themselves. It is the belief that effort by itself is enough, the belief that the act of trying carries weight equal to the act of delivering. But I must tell you, plainly and without apology, the world does not reward effort. It rewards completion. How many times have you heard a man say, "I tried, I gave it my best, I really meant to, I had a good reason"? But let us strip away the language and call it what it truly is, a shield to protect the ego from the sting of falling short, a soft pillow for the undisciplined to lay their heads upon at night. Effort is important, yes, but effort that does not result in execution is a stillborn ambition. It is a half-written symphony, a foundation with no building, a promise made but never fulfilled. And worse, it becomes a form of self-sabotage, because the more you confuse trying with doing, the more your subconscious begins to believe they are equal. They are not. Effort is preparation. Execution is proof. Let me give you an image. A man digs a hole and tosses in a seed. Then he walks away, congratulating himself for beginning. That is effort. But without water, without tending, without time and consistency, there will be no harvest. The earth does not reward intent. It rewards labor followed by completion. So it is with life. So it is with legacy. Many take pride in their struggle. They wear it like a badge. I'm working on it. I've been trying. It's hard right now. And yet, years pass and the goal remains untouched. Why? Because they've learned to take refuge in motion, not in progress. They've confused busyness with business. They've mistaken the warm feeling of effort for the cold results of action. Let me speak to you plainly. Trying is not building. Starting is not finishing. Wishing is not willing. And herein lies the deeper danger. Each time you excuse the absence of results with trying, you reinforce weakness. You allow the voice of comfort to drown out the call of greatness. Over time, your standard erodes. You become fluent in the language of delay. I'll get to it. It wasn't the right time. Life got in the way. And in this chorus of excuses, you drown out the truth that you simply didn't execute. The man of power, the man who wins, is not obsessed with how hard the path is. He is obsessed with finishing the path. He does not say, "I'm trying." He says, "It is done." So ask yourself this, and ask it without fear. Am I producing, or am I postponing? Am I finishing, or am I flattering myself with effort? Because if the answer is the latter, you are not on the path to mastery. You are caught in the loop of motion without meaning. Effort matters, but effort alone is not your legacy. Results are. And the world, harsh though it may seem, does not celebrate what you meant to do. It only responds to what you made real. The danger of self-justification. There is no prison more deceptive than the one you build with your own explanations, and no chains more invisible, yet more binding, than the ones forged by self-justification. You must understand, every time you defend your inaction, you train your mind to accept failure as a reasonable outcome. You convince yourself that not producing is tolerable, even noble, because you had a good reason. This is the silent killer of greatness. It begins with small, harmless statements. I was exhausted today. It wasn't the right opportunity. I had too much on my plate. But each of these is a subtle agreement with weakness. Each one chips away at your internal standard, not just in the moment, but permanently, because the subconscious is always listening. And the subconscious does not differentiate between truth and repetition. What you say often enough, it accepts as law. Now let me tell you something most men are never taught. The more often you explain your shortcomings, the more comfortable you become with underperformance. You begin to see excuses not as the exception, but as the rule. Soon, excellence is not your default. Explanation is. You speak more about your intentions than your outcomes. You live in theory, while your results rot in neglect. And yet, the world does not slow down to listen to your justifications. Results are the language it understands. You cannot pay your bills in reasons. You cannot win respect through apologies. You cannot build an empire on self-pity. A man's value is not in what he hoped to do, but in what he has done. Understand this. Every justification is a withdrawal from your own power. It says to your mind, there is a reason I can't win, and that reason is bigger than me. It becomes a story you tell yourself to escape the burden of growth. But greatness demands that you bear that burden. Do not get in the habit of narrating your shortcomings. Do not seek sympathy for the battle you refuse to fight. Speak less of what blocked you and more of what you built anyway. Because the man who constantly needs to explain his failure has already accepted it. And the world respects the man who shows up, regardless, the one who delivers in silence and explains nothing. You must rise to a higher code. Silence your excuses. Starve your justifications. Let only results speak for you. In doing so, you train your mind to see obstacles not as dead ends, but as raw material for discipline. Let your actions be the loudest part of your life. And if you must say anything, let it be this: I made it happen in spite of everything. Results are the only language the world respects. A man may be full of potential. He may be brimming with ideas, overflowing with passion, and surrounded by promise. But until those thoughts are converted into tangible results, he remains invisible to the world. The truth is harsh, but it is just. Results are the only language that commands respect. This world does not respond to the story you tell yourself. It responds to what you create, to what you deliver, to what you prove, with evidence, not emotion. You may believe yourself to be disciplined. You may feel that you work hard, that you're moving in the right direction. But let me ask you, and do not answer too quickly, where is the proof? What stands today that would not exist if you hadn't shown up and done the work? What have you built, achieved, overcome that the world can see, use, respect? If the answer is silence, then understand you are still in the rehearsal phase, and the world does not reward rehearsals. It rewards performance. You may be sincere in your journey, but sincerity is not currency. Only results spend. We live in a time where words are abundant. Declarations, intentions, opinions shouted endlessly into the void. But these do not move mountains. These do not build wealth. These do not leave legacy. Only action does. Only output matters. The man who produces results becomes a force. His name carries weight not because of what he wanted to do, but because of what he did. And make no mistake, when a man delivers, the world listens differently. Doors open, respect is given, influence is granted. But the man who offers only stories, only explanations, only unfinished plans, finds himself ignored, overlooked, and eventually forgotten. So if you want to shift your reality, shift your measure, stop asking, how hard am I trying? And begin asking, what have I completed? This is not about perfection, it is about proof. About stacking visible, undeniable results that testify to your discipline, your will, your seriousness. Not once, not occasionally, but consistently, relentlessly, until your name means something. Because in the end, the world remembers not who had the best ideas, but who had the courage to see them through. Your reasons may earn sympathy, but your results earn respect. Choose wisely which one you live for. Your life is your report card. There comes a moment, if a man is honest, when he must stop speaking, stop justifying, and look directly at his own life. Not the life he imagined, not the one he promised others, but the one he has actually built. And when he does, he must understand this sobering truth. Your life is your report card. Nothing more, nothing less. You may claim to have wisdom, but have you used it to solve real problems? You may say you are focused, but what has your focus produced? You may talk of discipline, but where are the finished projects, the sustained habits, the undeniable change? Everything you truly believe, everything you consistently act on, will show up in the results that surround you, your relationships, your health, your wealth, your structure. These are not accidents, they are not mysteries, they are feedback, they are the scoreboard of your decisions, and the scoreboard does not lie. You cannot argue with results, you cannot talk them into existence, and you cannot hide from the truth they expose. The man who lacks results may be skilled in storytelling, but eventually even the finest excuses collapse under the weight of reality, because reality demands evidence. So understand this: your current life is the reflection of your true standards, not your intentions, not your dreams, not your declarations. What you tolerate has built your world. What you repeat has shaped your habits. What you complete has defined your path. If you find yourself behind, do not despair, but also do not distract yourself with self-pity. Instead, face it like a builder surveying a foundation. Ask, what needs to be rebuilt? Where did I compromise? What results do I want, and what actions must I now demand of myself to match them? Because until your reality changes, your work is not done. Let no man deceive himself. Let no man be lulled into comfort by words without weight. In the end, you will be judged, not by what you meant to do, but by what exists because of you. Let your life become a loud, undeniable answer to that judgment. No one cares why you didn't, only that you didn't. We live in a world where explanations are abundant, but execution is rare, and I say this with no bitterness, only clarity. The marketplace does not reward the man who almost made it. It rewards the man who did. It does not care for the tales behind your delay. It remembers only that you did not deliver. You see, failure dressed in explanation is still failure. But I was close. But I had a reason. But I was waiting for the right moment. All these are attempts to soften the truth. But here is the reality you must swallow if you ever wish to ascend. The world is not moved by your justification. It is moved by your contribution. You either moved the needle or you didn't. You either showed up or you didn't. You either finished the work or you walked away from it. This is not a cruel system. It is a fair one. It strips away illusion and places every man at the mercy of his own follow-through. Not his charm, not his passion, not his potential, but his execution. What did you bring to the table? What exists because you refuse to leave without building it? Understand this: high performers don't spend their time explaining absence. They replace it with presence. They don't announce their intentions. They let their results do the talking, because they know you are either making deposits into your legacy or you are watching it fade from lack of action. So I will tell you plainly, if you did not execute, own it. If you fail to act, admit it and then correct it. But do not expect the world to clap for your reasoning. The world is already busy applauding the man who showed up, shut his mouth and finished the job without making noise about it. And that is the man history remembers. Let the world hear your silence. The most potent force in a man's arsenal is not his voice, but his silence. When you operate without explanation, without need for validation, you become a mystery the world cannot ignore. And in mystery, there is power. Most men are loud because they are unsure. They broadcast every small win, advertise their every move, and inflate their progress in hopes that someone will believe it, especially themselves. But you must rise above this noise. Your silence is your signature. It tells the world, I am at work. I do not chase approval. I do not beg to be seen. I will arrive with proof. It is the calm presence of a man who knows he will be judged by his results, not his rhetoric. Do not mistake this for weakness. Silence is not the absence of power. It is the control of it. The strongest men do not flinch when doubted, nor explain themselves when misunderstood. Why? Because they are too busy building what others are merely talking about. Let the world wonder what you're doing. Let them feel the absence of your noise and the impact of your presence when you choose to appear. In this age of performance and performance anxiety, quiet execution is rebellion. Every word you do not speak becomes a resource redirected toward action. Every explanation you withhold becomes a boundary that protects your focus. You will move in silence not because you are afraid to be heard, but because you are too focused to speak. Do not announce your greatness, become it, and let the silence shout for you. When they ask where you've been, let your results answer. When they question your pace, let your consistency reply. And when they doubt your path, let your legacy clarify all confusion. Let the world hear your silence, and never forget, silence kept with purpose becomes louder than any noise ever could. The world remembers who finished, not who started. In every city, in every generation, there are men who began with fire but ended in smoke. They started businesses, they wrote page 1 of books, they made promises under the weight of motivation, and then they vanished. The world does not mourn them. It barely remembers them, because beginnings are cheap, finishing is rare. Understand this, your value is not measured by your potential, it is measured by your completion. It is tempting to believe that starting something is enough, that the spark of an idea counts as forward motion. But ideas without execution are illusions. They comfort you without confronting you. You cannot build a legacy on intention. You build it by seeing things through. The man who finishes is a rare breed, not because he is more talented, but because he is more committed. While others pivot endlessly, chasing newness to avoid difficulty, the finisher stays the course. He does not chase the rush of beginning. He endures the boredom, the resistance, the silence that comes between step 1 and done. And when he arrives, and when the result is real, tangible, undeniable, he earns a place the world cannot deny. His name means something, not because he started more things than others, but because he finished what they abandoned. So take inventory. What have you started that you must now complete? What dream lies half built in your life, waiting not for more inspiration, but for more discipline? Because in the end, you will not be remembered for how many things you began. You will be remembered for what you had the courage and character to finish. The man who finishes earns silence, respect, and results. The man who starts and stops earns none. Your excuses build invisible walls. Every excuse you repeat builds a wall around your potential, not of stone or steel, but of something far more dangerous, limitation disguised as logic. You tell yourself you're too tired, too busy, too late to start, and brick by invisible brick you seal yourself inside a prison, one you unknowingly constructed. Excuses feel reasonable. They often sound intelligent. But here's the truth you must absorb. Even the best-sounding excuse is still a barrier between you and your result. And over time, those excuses do not just delay your success, they redefine your identity. A man who consistently justifies inaction becomes someone who can no longer recognize opportunity, even when it's standing in front of him. You don't need more time. You need fewer excuses. You don't need the perfect moment. You need to move before you're ready. Because as long as your mouth is filled with explanations, your hands will be empty of progress. Tear down the walls, one action at a time. Refuse to let logic become your leash, because in the end, no excuse, no matter how intelligent, ever built anything. Talent means nothing without proof. The world is filled with men who once had potential. They were told they were smart, gifted, or talented, and they believed that was enough. But talent is like an unopened letter. It holds promise but no impact. If you die with talent unproven, you die with your power unused. If your skills never created results, they were noise, not music. The world doesn't respect what you could have done. It respects what you did, and that's the cruel mercy of results. They don't lie. They expose who took action and who made excuses, who translated potential into product and who let it rot in procrastination. So don't chase praise. Chase proof. Build things, finish things, make it real. Let your work speak in a tone louder than your words ever could. Talent whispers, results roar. Delayed execution is self-betrayal. Every time you delay action, you tell your future self, I don't believe in you enough to act now. That is not humility. That is self-betrayal. We romanticize waiting, as if delay is wise, as if more time will make things easier. But what actually happens? Time hardens hesitation. Delay turns into decay. And the longer you wait, the heavier your dream becomes, until you can no longer lift it. You must understand execution is a sacred act of self-respect. It is the declaration that your future matters and that you are willing to endure discomfort now to build it. The man who waits for motivation is already defeated. The man who moves despite resistance earns freedom. So if something is on your heart, build it. If a goal is calling you, pursue it. Not tomorrow, not when it's perfect, but now. Because every moment you wait is another moment stolen from the version of you that could have been. You don't run out of time, you run out of courage to use the time you already had. Clarity means commitment. The man who lacks results often lacks one thing above all: clarity. Not talent, not passion, but precision in aim. You cannot hit a target you haven't defined, and yet most men drift, not because they are incapable, but because they are unfocused. They chase 10 things, commit to none, and wonder why they end each year with fragments instead of fulfillment. Clarity is not just knowing what you want, it is eliminating what you don't. It is the act of drawing a hard line around your focus, then defending it with your time, your habits, and your discipline. Understand, vague goals produce vague results, and if your vision is foggy, your life will feel like a constant search, never a conquest. So sit with your thoughts, write your mission, refine it until it burns, then move with the commitment of a man who has decided. Because the world doesn't reward efforts scattered in every direction. It respects the one who moves in a straight line and never looks back. You do not need more motivation. You need clarity and the courage to obey it. The world judges by outcome, not intention. You may have meant well. You may have had pure intentions, careful planning, and a heart full of goodwill. But here's the truth. The world will never tell you gently. Intention doesn't build. Intention doesn't change lives. Outcome does. You will not be remembered for what you meant to do. You will not be praised for what you wanted to start. You will not be respected for your almost, maybes, or half-finished dreams. History is written by finishers, and the world, cold and impartial as it may be, judges by what you built, not what you wanted to build. So when you feel the urge to justify delay, remind yourself, results are the only language the world respects. All else is background noise, and you were not born to blend into that noise. You were born to leave proof. The man who produces gets remembered. The man who promises gets replaced. The results reveal the real you. Every man wears two faces. The first is the face he presents to the world, full of ambition, vision, and high intentions. It speaks well. It talks of discipline, passion, and purpose. It tells others, I'm on the way, just wait, you'll see. The second face is quieter. It does not speak. It does not promise. It simply reflects what has been done, what has been built, what exists in reality. This is the face the world actually sees. And here is the hard truth. Only one of those faces holds weight. The world does not reward the man with dreams. It rewards the man with proof. You may claim to be hardworking, but your bank account, your health, your consistency, they are the real testimony. You may tell yourself you're getting better, but your routines, your output, your energy, these are the real report card. Effort means nothing unless it creates change. Trying means nothing unless it leads to evidence. And no matter how noble your reasons, how big your hopes, or how loud your intentions, you are what you consistently produce. You must become bold enough to look your life in the eye, your results, and not flinch. Look at your calendar, your finances, your physical shape, your mental clarity, your habits. Ask, is this the life of the man I claim to be? If it isn't, don't defend it. Don't excuse it. Don't call it potential. Change it. Rewrite the script. Replace intention with execution. Replace belief with behavior. Replace stories with results. Because when it's all said and done, the world doesn't remember what you said you were going to do. It remembers what you did. Let the world judge you by the results you've earned, not the reasons you've rehearsed. Pressure is where results are forged. If you wait for life to be easy before you act, you will wait forever. Real growth, the kind that shapes character, builds legacy, and changes the course of your life doesn't come from comfort. It comes from pressure, from resistance, from the very forces most people spend their lives avoiding. The masses seek softness. They confuse rest with peace. They chase freedom through escape. But in this escape, they lose the very force that could have built them. Pressure is the divine furnace. It refines you. It confronts you with yourself. It exposes your weaknesses, yes, but only so you can fortify them. It tears off the excuses you've been hiding behind and says, now show me who you really are. It is easy to talk when nothing is on the line. It is easy to plan when you're not being tested. But under pressure, when the stakes are high, when fatigue sets in, when people doubt you, when nothing is certain, that is where the real man is revealed. You either collapse or you rise. You either justify or you adapt. You either become the excuse or the example. You must rewire your mind to embrace it, not fear it, not resent it, but step into it as a sacred process, a spiritual obligation to grow, to sharpen, to become unbreakable. Think of the sword. Only fire and force can shape it. Think of the diamond. Only time and pressure can refine it. You are no different. So stop praying for things to get easier. Pray for the strength to rise as things get harder, because if you wait for the pressure to pass before you act, you'll live like a ghost, full of what-ifs, but empty of impact. The man of power does not run from pressure, he runs into it. Pressure does not break the worthy, it proves them, and in proving them, it sets them apart.